Good morning or evening to you, sir. Before we continue, I need you to do something important. Please hide me from the name Gustav. Why? Because what I'm about to reveal should not be overheard by him. Because what I am about to reveal should not be heard by him or anyone else. This is the story of my real father, a man I never knew. But in his shadow I have lived my whole life. Who was he really? What dark secrets did he hide? And above all, why do I feel that what he did still haunts me even today? The revelation came suddenly, and it shattered everything I thought I knew about my life. My mother, in a tone both hesitant and burdened, told me that the man I called father was not my true father. My real father, she explained, was an Albularyo, a healer from a distant province. But he was no ordinary man. He was someone who had delved into realms that few dared to approach. His life was steeped in rituals, ancient knowledge, and dangerous powers that blurred the line between healer and sorcerer. She described his death in fragmented whispers, as if speaking it aloud could summon the past to the present. He had been killed under mysterious circumstances, a confrontation with forces neither entirely human nor wholly supernatural. Witnesses had spoken of shadows and strange lights on the night he died, though nothing concrete ever came to light. What remained was a legacy of whispered fears and unanswered questions. As much as my mother tried to shield me from it, I could see the weight of those secrets in her eyes. I was determined to learn more. I sought out one of my father's old friends, a man my mother trusted to tell me the truth. This friend, though initially reluctant, eventually shared stories that painted a picture of my father's dangerous life. He spoke of rituals conducted in the dead of night, the chants that resonated through the forests, and the cryptic symbols that were said to hold immense power. My father had possessed a book, ancient and worn, that contained knowledge said to be forbidden. This book, the friend claimed, was coveted by many, and it may have been the reason my father met his untimely end. He revealed something that chilled me to my core. My father's methods were not always pure. Though he had helped many as a healer, there were times he used his knowledge for darker purposes. He had blurred the line between good and evil, and in doing so, he had attracted the attention of entities best left alone. Some said his death was a result of human jealousy, a rival healer who wanted him gone. Others whispered that it was something far more sinister, something from beyond this world that sought to punish him for breaking rules that should never be broken. The more I learned, the more I felt a growing unease. At night, I began to dream of him. The dreams were vivid and oppressive. In them, my father stood in a shadowy place, his face half covered in darkness. He would reach out to me, his mouth moving, but no sound would come. Then I would wake up, drenched in sweat, my heart racing. I started to notice other things, too. Figures lurking at the edge of my vision, whispers in empty rooms, and a constant feeling that I was being watched. It became impossible to ignore the signs. I decided to visit my father's old house, the place where he had lived and where he had died. The house was as I expected, dilapidated and abandoned, yet something about it felt alive, as though the walls themselves were watching me. The air inside was stifling, carrying the faint scent of burned herbs and something metallic. I found his old study, a room that seemed untouched by time. Books and papers were scattered everywhere, along with strange objects I couldn't identify. On a table in the center of the room lay a journal. Its leather cover was cracked, and the pages were brittle, yet the writing inside was disturbingly clear. I read through the entries, piecing together fragments of my father's life. He had written about his fears, the rituals he had performed, and the enemies he had made. The final entry stopped me cold. It was addressed to me, though it didn't mention my name. If you are reading this, it means they have found you. You must leave this place. Take nothing with you. Run. My heart pounded as I clutched the journal, the words etched into my mind. Who were they? And how could he have known I would one day come here? Before I could think further, I felt a sudden coldness sweep through the room. The air grew heavy, pressing against my chest, making it hard to breathe. I turned, certain I had seen a shadow move across the far wall, but there was nothing there. And yet, I could feel it, the same oppressive presence I had felt in my dreams. I left the house that day, but it didn't leave me. The shadows followed me, not just in the literal sense, but in my thoughts, my dreams, my waking hours. I became paranoid, looking over my shoulder constantly, jumping at the slightest sound. I tried to forget what I had read, to convince myself it was nothing more than the ramblings of a desperate man. But the feeling of being watched never went away. One night, I awoke to the sound of whispers outside my bedroom window. They weren't in any language I recognized, yet they filled me with an overwhelming dread. Gathering my courage, I pulled back the curtain, but there was nothing there. The whispers continued, growing louder until they seemed to echo inside my skull. I shut my eyes, covering my ears, but the sound wouldn't stop. When it finally ceased, I opened my eyes to find a single piece of paper on the floor by my bed. It was from the journal, a page I hadn't noticed before. On it were just 3 words, written in my father's unmistakable handwriting. Run. Now. Forever. I don't know how the story ends. Perhaps it doesn't. Perhaps it's a curse, passed down from a father I never knew to a son who never wanted it. All I know is that the shadows are closer now, and I'm running.